Today we're exploring the world of generative AI when we're going hands-on with Adobe Firefly, the new model that was just launched by Adobe about a week ago. I'll tell you a little bit about what generative AI is, and I'll explain what Firefly currently does. Then we'll put text to image and AI text effects to use as we create an illustration of an astronaut traveling through a creative multiverse in Photoshop using images we generate with Firefly. While I'm creating this illustration, I'll give you a short rundown of what generative AI is. Near the end of the video, we'll be addressing some of the concerns around generative AI, around copyright, and around the training data that Firefly is based on. And we'll also talk a little bit about Adobe's plans to compensate stock contributors. So let's head into Adobe Firefly and check out what you can do in here. So you have various different options when you enter the website. You have text to image and you have text effects. And those two options are the only ones that are available at the moment, but we have several coming soon, sneak peeks as well. Some of those are in painting, personalized results, text to vector, extend image, 3D to image, text to pattern, text to brush, sketch to image, and text to template. So lots of stuff to be excited about, and I'm personally most excited about some of the features that are gonna give the creatives more control over the output of Firefly. So things like sketch to image, where your sketch defines the shape of the image, and then you have 3D to image, which is another very interesting feature. Then in painting and extend image is also very useful features. Let's take a look at the two things you can do with Adobe Firefly at the moment, and that is text to effects and text to image. Since we'll be using mostly text to image in the time-lapse a little bit later in the video, I'm gonna start out with text effects. So when I open up the effect, I'm greeted with a lot of different examples of things made with the tool. So I can take one of these and I can try out the prompt, or I can start something completely new, which I think I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna write E for text, and then what kind of text effect do we want? And by the way, I'm starting with just a single letter to be able to show the effect better. We can try with a full word in just a minute. But let's say we want this to be written with lava. So I'm just gonna write in the text field, glowing red hot lava, and then just enter to generate, and you wait for a little while. And this is all real time, by the way, so you can see the effect happens quite quickly. And then you can change things like background color, you can change the font of the text, you can change something called text effect fit, and then you have various different samples that you can use in your text effect. But let's start out with a different color background, because the transparent one didn't look good for our lava effect. I'm gonna try a few of these variations. You can always regenerate or refresh the effect if you want. I think I like this one best. And then let's try out the text effect fit so you can see the difference. So we have a tight fit here, which, as you can tell, you don't have any of these image effects extending out over the silhouette of the text. Then if we switch all the way over to loose here, you can see what that does. It's gonna make the image effect extend way out over the image. Let's try with a full word now. So I'm just gonna write lava, and we're gonna wait for a few seconds. And there you have it. And this looks really cool. And what you can do here is you can mix and match. So you will generate a lot of different examples and pick the letters that you think looks the best. By the way, there's an interesting kind of hack for the effect, which is not really a hack, but just a super tip from the Firefly beta testing Discord channel. And that is that if you input this extra bit of text here, you can make the effect extend even more. So let's try and regenerate this. You can even set it to strength 1 and get an even stronger effect, because this is the strength of the outline. So the higher the number, the stronger the outline will be. So if you set this to outline strength 1, you will get a big extension outside of the text, which looks pretty cool. But let's try this out with a few different other prompts and texts, and I'm just gonna run this as a time lapse, so you don't have to wait around for the generation. So enjoy. Alright, and that's it for the text effects. Now let's move into text to image and check out what you can do in here. Snow landscape with an old magical hut. I'm gonna hit enter. So you can already see the result from just a very simple prompt is very good. And one of the things I like about Firefly is that you don't really have to be a prompt engineer or anything. I never really liked that term that much. In here it's more about expressing your idea and then tweaking the parameters and then taking the image into a product like Photoshop for further refinement, just like we're going to be doing with the astronaut illustration. And then if you like one of these images, you can then pick that and you can download it. And as soon as you download the image, Firefly is going to be applying some content credentials to the image, which means that the image is going to be embedded with a thumbnail saying that this was made with Firefly. And it's also going to embed the image with metadata around the training data used to make the image and information like that. That's it for the walkthrough of Firefly. Now let's move on to the illustration I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And while you watch the time-lapse of me creating this illustration using assets generated with Firefly, I'll talk a little bit about generative AI and what that is. Generative AI, the short version, is a type of artificial intelligence that focuses on creating new content rather than just analyzing or processing existing information. It does this by learning patterns and structures from existing data and then generating new original content based on that knowledge. The technology has become increasingly popular and is now being applied across various fields such as art, music, design, and text generation. I'm sure you've all heard a lot about AI and generative AI over the last few weeks and months. Diffusion models, like the technology behind Firefly and other popular image generators, refine random initial images that are basically just noise through multiple stages into high-quality outputs, guided by a text prompt that the AI then searches for in that noise. A little bit like cloud watching. They're trained on vast amounts of data, and in the case of Firefly, Firefly is trained on Adobe stock images, openly licensed content, and public domain content where copyright has expired. An image generated with a diffusion model isn't a collage. Instead of combining existing images, it generates entirely new content by emulating patterns and structures from the training data, resulting in unique and original creations. The diffusion model provides better control and image quality, which makes it great for things like photobashing, storyboarding, reference images, or even as finished artwork. There's no doubt about the power of generative AI as part of our creative toolset of tomorrow. The more control the user gets over the generation of the image through things like sketch to image, 3D to image, in-painting and out-painting, the more control we'll have over the final output and the creative vision when we're using these tools. But aside from being a very powerful tool, generative AI also forces us to ask critical questions about how these systems are trained, how they'll influence our work, and not least, how they'll influence our society. I think Adobe's approach is a step in the right direction. It's not perfect, but I think they're getting there with this. They're also working on ways to allow Adobe stock contributors to opt out of the training data for Firefly, which is a very highly requested feature and something that's very fair to ask for, I think. In a time where AI image generation tools seems to be announced on a daily basis, I think Adobe has given us the best example of how generative AI tools can be trained with the artist in mind. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the topic and what you think about Adobe's approach.